of speed, color, drama, and excitement. The American Sports Cavalcade.
Mention Syracuse, New York to any serious sports fan, and immediately they conjure up images of Syracuse University. The fabled Orangemen under the roof of their beautiful Carrier Dome. Legends in basketball and in football. But there's another sporting event totally unique to Syracuse. It's the biggest dirt track race of them all, the Miller High Life 300 for modified cars. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Evans. And before Super Dirt Week is over here at the New York State Fairgrounds, over $500,000 in prize money will have been presented in front of over 125,000 fans, including 35,000 of my new friends. Now, they wait all year long for this one event. It's a little chilly today, but enthusiasm is high. Everybody ready for the big one? Are we ready? Okay, let's go down trackside and Brodcast.
Well, Steve, I'll tell you what, the folks up there in the grandstands are going to see something today. 188 laps, 300 kilometers for these Super Dirt Modifieds, and on the pole, the man who has run quick time here in qualifying, Doug Hoffman from Allentown, Pennsylvania. And Doug, I know last year you were in the hunt all afternoon long, then fell back a little bit with some strategy problems, but you did take home that $10,000 that goes down to the guy that leads 100 laps. Will that affect your strategy today?
Well, if we're running in a position to take that $10,000 laps, we're certainly going to go for it, because $10,000 in your pocket is easy to take. But we're not going to jeopardize the race for that lap this year. You know, we're going to try and win the race.
So the race will fall down to a lot of strategy, I would imagine. Have you set any kind of early race strategy for pit stops?
Well, we want to try and come in early before most of the fast cars come in, so I don't have to deal with passing them. If I can get in early enough each time and keep the fast cars behind me, it should make a difference in the end.
Oh, we'll sure be watching the best of luck.
Thanks, Brock.
Doug Hoffman. And now let's go to my pal, Paul Page, who's with the outside front row starter.
Well, Brock here on the outside of the front row with perhaps his best chance ever to win this race. Your best finish thus far has only been a 6th. Jeff Holtzler, you're really in a good position to get in that first turn.
Well, hopefully we can get it right on the start and get around Hoffman right on the start. That's, you know, the best thing to go 188 laps. We're just going to have to play it by ear, see what happens.
Key problem today, tires?
I don't think so today. You know, heavy rain last night, wet track, cloud cover. I think it's going to be no problem with tires today.
All right, Brock. Jeff Holtzler is ready from the outside of the front row.
Starting the 7th spot is a man who won here in 1987, one of the finest drivers ever to run at Syracuse, Jimmy Horton. And Jimmy, weather, could it be a factor today or not? It's real chilly here.
Well, the coldness will help the tire wear, and you know, you won't get as hot and sweaty in it, but you know, we're just worried about the rain. As long as the rain stays up, I think, you know, it'll be a good race.
Strategy in terms of tire, we know you're probably going to have to make a couple of stops. Have you determined, or are you just going to play it by ear as far as the cautions go?
Well, we're just going to play it by ear when the cautions fall, but we're planning on 2 stops, you know, 2 tire changes in our fuel, and just sit there and ride and stay out of trouble.
We'll be watching you. Best of luck.
Okay, thank you.
And now let's go to Paul.
Well, Brock, back here in the 10th starting position is Kenny Brightville, the defending champion of this race, in the very same car that you won in last year, but this isn't the car you've been campaigning all season. Why are you in this machine?
Well, this car felt real comfortable last year, and it's the best I felt on a mile. Every place I only took it one other place besides here, and it really felt good. So I just figured I'd come back with something that felt good to me.
Now, you've been campaigning the Taylor car most of the year. Is there a problem there?
No, there's no problem. It just worked out that I wanted to do my own deal here at Syracuse, and I'll go back running his car next week.
Of course, when you're a driver and owner, you can take home more money.
Well, I don't know about that.
All right, good luck to you, Kenny Brightville. Brock?
Well, Paul, starting in the 12th spot, one of the craftiest drivers in the business, Barefoot Bob McCready from up in Watertown, New York, known to run real well here in this race. And Bob, I would imagine, based on a performance that you put on yesterday, just kind of snuck up on everybody. You got to feel pretty good about this race.
Yeah, we feel real good about it, but there's 15 guys here that can win this race, and it's just going to be real tough. After about 130 laps, then we're going to really get serious and start racing. So, you know, till then, it's just going to try to get in and out of the pits and not have any problem.
Bob, I know about this. Everybody's talking about this $10,000 that is up for the 100 laps. Do you kind of let that go by and just look for that checkered flag at the end, or is there some strategy involved and kind of take that home too?
If things worked out well and looked like you had a shot at it, you go for it. But at this stage of the game, I don't think there's anybody here that's here to win this race will fool around with that bonus at the middle.
All right. Well, the best of luck. We know you can do it.
Thank you, Brock.
Okay. Bob McCready, one of the real contenders here today. Paul?
Well, Brock, here's the other half of that Kenny Brightville story. This is the #1 car. It belongs to Billy Taylor. Normally, Brightville would be in the cockpit. Instead, a face that we're more familiar with from the sprint cars, Dave Blaney. This is a special ride for you for this race only?
Oh, yeah. I get to run a modified maybe once a year, and, you know, Billy was kind enough to give me a car to run.
What do you think of running here on the dirt in this kind of car as compared to your sprint cars?
Oh, you know, it's a lot different. It's just a different kind of race and a different kind of attitude you got to go about it. But, you know, I enjoy it. And, you know, I've been around it for a while, so it's not real strange to me.
So Dave Blaney is ready here on the starting lineup as the crowd is really getting excited. Let's go a little further back. Brock Yates once again.
Well, Paul, I'm way back here and with the 30th starter, but believe me, a man who has won here twice, one of the craftiest drivers of them all, and a terrific competitor here at Syracuse, has won this big race twice. But as I said earlier, he had horrible problems during qualifying. And Jack, 30th place isn't exactly an ideal place to start this deal.
No, it's really not. We've had problems all week, motor problems, chassis problems. But I feel pretty good right now, and it's going to be a survival kind of a thing. And hopefully we're there at the end.
You got 188 laps to kind of move up on these guys, so I would imagine you'll let the race settle down a little bit in the early going and then just kind of pick your way up, or will you make a big hard charge at the front?
Well, I'm going to let them sort themselves out and just try to pick a spot and where I feel comfortable running. We'll just play it from there.
Okay, we'll be watching you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Well, Brock, the news for Jack Johnson is even worse than you told him. As we check the grid sheet, he's not starting 30th. He is clear back in 38th place.
I know. There are 25 rows of cars there. You know me in double numbers. I lost count walking back here, Steve. I apologize.
Actually, 49 cars are just about ready to start the richest dirt track race of them all, the Miller Highlight 300. This could be one we'll all remember.
This huge crowd at the Syracuse Fairgrounds on its collective feet, awaiting the flag off of 49 of the fastest dirt modifieds in the United States. There you see Doug Hoffman, the pole sitter, Jeff Hetzler on the outside of the front row, leading off this pack of automobiles. And Steve Evans, I'll tell you what, this is without a doubt the most competitive field of race cars ever gathered here on this giant, tricky, very narrow Syracuse 1 mile dirt track.
In fact, it's been nicknamed by the drivers over the years as the Moody Mile. It has a way of changing its personality at various times during the race. And all you have to do if you're a Northeast modified fan is take a look at the grid we're showing you, because all of the track champions are here. And all of their fans have followed them from wherever they may live. And that accounts for over 30,000 people in the seats.
Right. Series of qualifying races run around the circuit called dirt. That's drivers' independent racetracks all over the Northeastern United States, now collected here. Series of qualifying races around these various half-mile dirt tracks, then some qualifying races here on the Moody Mile, finally leading to this collection of drivers. And as I said earlier, none better. Just a terrific field of cars and drivers, perfectly prepared, and most of these guys veterans of this mile racetrack.
That's right, and as cool as the temperatures are, there may be an extra pace lap here just to bring engines up to temperature. And you know, Brock, it's interesting. There are contenders spread out throughout this field, not just up front. In just about any row, you can find a driver capable of winning if they can pass successfully.
Good example, row 23, Tommy Corellis, a real veteran. But way back in row 25, the big news, Alan Johnson, the brother of Danny Johnson, a former winner here. He didn't even qualify, had terrible problems. He ended up as a promoter's option in this race. By the way, Jack Johnson, who I said was starting at 30th, actually 38th, he is not related to the other Johnson boys. Earlier, Steve had a look at one of these very exotic automobiles.
You may remember the last time we brought you dirt action from Syracuse. All of the modified cars had the silhouette of an American Motors Gremlin from the 60s. Well, that was the easiest Detroit style body to build because it was flat on the sides and flat on the roof. Well, in the 1980s, the powers that be said, wait a minute, guys, let's make these cars look more like what Detroit builds today. Come up with something. Well, they did all right. This is the 99 car of Dickie Larkin. It is a Chevrolet Lumina. You don't buy that, huh? Well, you ought to see some of the Thunderbirds that are running around here. Now, one of the problems in getting away from the Gremlin shape, it was a natural wedge, lots of downforce, and the low silhouette cars don't have that, so they lowered the interior wings, almost flattened them out, and channeled that air up to a spoiler almost straight up and down, much like a drag racing funny car. And something else they did as well, as far as managing that air, is they take some of it into the oil cooler as it passes by, and some more goes down to the rear brakes. Dickie Larkin has one of the best thought-out cars in all of dirt track racing. Now, the body rule is this: 14 inches here and 14 inches here to get the driver out of the car in case of an emergency. So this car is obviously illegal. Oop, wait a minute. Velcro side panels. I told you these guys were innovative. And look at the care they take and the pride they take in this car. They don't have to chrome those hubs, but they do. They don't have to chrome these Nerf bars, but they do. And they anodize and polish every bit of suspension possible. They even cover the shock absorbers to protect them. During competition, they put Lexan plastic here and on the other wing, and a big piece of plexiglass over here to protect the paint. So anytime there's a Best Appearing Car Award, you can bet that Dickie Larkin from Massachusetts will win it.
Dickie will start 8th with that automobile. Beautiful, you say, in terms of detailing and craftsmanship. Styling, matter of personal taste, I'd say.
Well, compared to the old Gremlins, they look more like Ferraris these days. And take a look as starter Paul Luff gets the green flag ready as we get a shot out on the back straight where you can see how narrow this is. And look at the traffic jam.
About 3 cars wide. That's about all you try to get down here on this very narrow straightaway. The corners tighten up here at Syracuse. You can see very narrow bend. The front straightaway real wide as Hetzler and Hoffman lead them out down toward the green flag. We've got a green. We're racing.
And Doug Hoffman, the 125 car, the man on the pole, very alert with the throttle down at the first hit of the green flag. And it'll be Hoffman leading them into turn number 1 for the first time today.
All right, as they string out here, this is always critical, these opening laps here at Syracuse, because you've got to navigate your way through very, very narrow corners on this big mile as the field strings out down the back straightaway. And I'll tell you what, Steve, what a sight. Now we're 3 and 4 wide on this narrow course.
And miraculously, it looks like, yes, we are going to have a clean first lap, and that's rare in 300 history.
It is indeed, as both Hoffman and Hetzler lead them down into turn number 1. Here's your race for 9th place. Former winner Brett Hearn in the 6th car goes by the number 99 car of Dickie Larkin.
And there's action up front for the 2nd position, the 74 car. Jeff Holzer, the white machine, trying to stave off 27J, Danny Johnson, and appears to have the torque out of the corners to do that.
But still, Steve, it's very difficult to pass here at Syracuse in these big, sweeping, narrow corners. About the only way you can get by anybody is at the end of these long straights where you can nose in underneath somebody as you see the cars sweeping down there. Danny Johnson sweeping down into turn number 1.
And you try to stay down low, but not so low that you scrub up any speed you've accumulated. Now here's the fight for the 4th position, the 17 car, Richard Tobias, the bright blue car, and number 10, Lou Blaney, the father of Dave Blaney that we talked to in the open.
Right, and Richard Tobias, the son of the famous Dick Tobias, one of the finest sprint car drivers and modified drivers who died in a racing accident a number of years ago. And the family now building not only excellent chassis, but Richard Tobias moving up in the ranks as well among the modified drivers.
And I don't care what form of racing it is, it just gets into the family blood. Because of action like this, 12A Jack Johnson passing 11, Sammy Rogers. He has moved up 6 places. Jack Johnson now in the 32nd spot and is closing on the 555 car of Ricky Smith, the white machine.
Well, everybody watching Jack Johnson, having won this event twice, got himself a big problem in qualifying, therefore didn't start any better than 38. But there's that orange and white automobile right in the center of your screen. Right in front of him is the blue and white triple nickel car, Ricky Smith, up there in 31st spot. Johnson, of course, will have to wait as he comes down the front straightaway. Got to be patient as he weaves in front of Smith. Now, the 97 car of Steve Botcher is his next target. And again, though, Jack Johnson will have to be patient, riding around behind Botcher until he gets out onto the straightaway. Right up on Botcher's Nerf bar. Botcher gets a little sideways, and Johnson falls back ever so much. There you can see Johnson tucked right down inside that rail. Johnson, one of the real veterans in this business. He's going to get by him, I would imagine, Steve, but he'll bide his time.
Yeah, but the more you move up, the tougher the guy in front of you gets. And Johnson now has got the 97 car of Steve Botcher in front of him, the 78 machine of Rick Ware. Those have to be his next two targets.
All right, as we watch Johnson slowly working on Steve Botcher in that 97 and going a little bit to the outside. Botcher's putting up a good fight here. Right in front of him is Rick Ween in the 78 car, that white and orange automobile, and a clear track ahead. So if Jack Johnson can get by, he's got an open field for a while anyway. Back to the leaders. They're already in lap traffic, Steve.
And they're in a pair of refrigerator white automobiles. The 125 car, that's Doug Hoffman. He's leading white with blue numbers, white with red numbers. It's 74 car of Jeff Hetzler.
Hetzler right on Hoffman's bumper, or Nerf bar as it were, as they come down through that mob of traffic on the front straightaway. This is where it's going to get mighty tricky, and any little bobble. Don't forget, though, these cars have no ground effects whatsoever. Look at this. There is a move by Hetzler, and he will move in and take over first place in that number 74 automobile. So we got a lead change here. The 125 car, Doug Hoffman, the pole sitter, falls back into second. And in a mob of traffic, of course, it's early in the going, and he may very well have given way a little bit and just hanging in there for a while.
Well, now, Doug Hoffman, the 125 car, is trying to hang on to that second position. He is getting some pressure from Danny Johnson, who's made a tremendous move here. The 27J car, and he's about to make another one. The orange 27J, Danny Johnson at turn number 1, takes over the second spot.
Danny Johnson, one of the really hot young runners in this kind of racing from Clifton Springs, New York, right behind Hetzler as they head down into turn number 3.
And there's a driver with a lot of experience that's moving up. I'm talking about C.D. Colville, the number 61 car. He started cleared back in 28 and has moved up to 15. Can he keep that kind of progress up?
Well, he's got a long way to go here at Syracuse. 300 kilometers around this big mile. You're just in the opening stages of this fantastic automobile race. So a lot going on here at Syracuse.
That's right, and strategy really hasn't started to rear its ugly head, and it will before this day is over. Right now, the strategy is stay out of trouble and move forward through the pack.
And just watch out for the Moody Mile, because it's notorious for the kind of tricks it'll play.
For sure, here in Syracuse, Jeff Hetzler, the number 74 car, commands the lead. Doug Hoffman, the early leader, the 125 car, has slipped all the way back to the 5th position. Bridget Tobias Jr., the 17 car in 6, followed by Horton in the 85 machine, car 115 with Kenny Tremont. Frank Cozzi, the 44 car. Dickie Larkin wraps up the top 10 in the number 99 car. At least when I started talking about that, he was good.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, that we've still got the leaders in position here. That's Hetzler in the 74, the 27J of Danny Johnson right behind him. Those two automobiles broken away a little bit from the field now. The racetrack just spread out with automobiles all the way around the mile. But right now, those guys have broken through the lap cars and should settle down into a pretty good race right now, Steve.
And so far, this mile hasn't shown us as many moves, because when guys like Danny Johnson can pass as many positions as they have and not crunch any sheet metal, that means you've got a good racing surface that's not throwing you offline.
Right. And these guys are very experienced. These are extremely professional drivers. Most of them make their living strictly as dirt racing drivers. DIRT, Dirt Independent Racetracks. And an acronym, I guess they probably wanted to call it dirt and then figured out the words later, don't you think?
That's what I would have done.
Okay, as we watch Jeff Hetzler and Danny Johnson. Oh, trouble in turn number 1. Rick Ween, Milford Bedford, New Jersey, stuffs it into the fence, and apparently he is out for the afternoon. At least the right rear tire is cut down. That may have been the cause of the accident. Started in 27th spot, out earlier here in the going. No apparent damage to the automobile, Steve. Doesn't look like anything too serious anyway. Ween is all right, as we've got some automobiles now into the pits.
And it's way too early for that. The 48 car of Dirk Adrians. He started 36 and moved all the way up to 23rd, but it looks like they're working on the left rear tire. And here comes Doug Hoffman, who had led this.
Not only that, Steve, he started on the pole. So he is in way too early. There is his crew. Gas cans ready. They'll top it off, and I'm sure that's not the problem. There must be trouble elsewhere in the automobile. Yes, right front tire. That is the change. These cars do not have knockoffs, so it's going to take a little time to make these tire changes. These guys normally run short track events, and like a lot of short track crews, are not too experienced in terms of the pit stop like we see in NASCAR competition.
You know, it looked like there was air in that tire. I wonder if he was more concerned maybe about the size of that tire.
Could be a stagger change, but anyway, Hoffman back out onto the racetrack, well back right now. Obviously disappointed that he was not able to just hang there with Danny Johnson.
And in the pits is the winner of the 86 race. This is Bob McCready. And we just saw Bob pointing at something, and I believe it was the right rear tire. But anyway, he's gassed and away. Now, we just saw some early pit stops there, and all of them had to do with tires in one way or another. Even though, as some of the drivers said at the top of the show, the racetrack is not going to be particularly hard on rubber because of the cool temperatures. Anyway, Paul Page is down in a sea of tires to tell us about them.
Racing on the dirt here at Syracuse, there are 3 different tire companies represented. McCreary, the Hoosier Tire, and of course the Goodyear Racing Eagle. Now, tires are absolutely critical here. They've come with several different compounds, but most of the racers have decided to use a nice hard compound, and that's because they've put some cinders into the track over the winter. The track's also used for horse racing, and because of that, it is now very abrasive. In fact, tire wear could be a key factor throughout the entire run today. Now, additionally, these cars run with stagger. That is to say that they'll make the circumference of the right rear tire maybe as much as 5 inches larger than the left rear. They do the same thing up on the front of the car, only the stagger difference there is only about 2 1/4 inches. Tires are so important here, as a matter of fact, that many of the teams that may be on Goodyear have also brought a little bit of everybody else's tire just in case.
Well, here comes Doug Hoffman back in again, Steve, and they're going to work on the left rear tire this time. And I'll tell you what, an added complication. Everybody looking at the sky, it's starting to spit just a little bit of rain.
That's right, and that could change everybody's choice of tires. As Paul just explained, they may have some in the back they hadn't even considered, depending on the weather.
Well, you'll notice that these tires are treaded tires, even though this racetrack in the later stages, especially if it warms up, which it probably won't today, but sometimes this racetrack can almost become like asphalt. It gets almost black in the groove, and there you get to a point where you need a really almost an asphalt tire.
Now, this is the crew of Doug Hoffman's machine, the 125 car, who led and then fell back and finally had to come into the pits. Check it out, those tires. They've usually got a man on the crew that does nothing but inventory the tires and keep track of where they are and what they've still got left.
All right, there's your starter. The pace car still on the racetrack. He is signaling to that white flag. That means 1 lap to green. So the next time around here, as this giant field strings out, let's take a look one more time at the leaderboard. Jeff Hetzler leading it. Danny Johnson, Rich Urich started up near the front. Brett Hearn, always a contender, started 9th. He's now sitting in 4th. Kenny Tremont moved up a little bit into the 6th spot. Bright Bill, one of the real strong runners, in 8th now. Jimmy Horton falling back a little bit. So the field up front, shifting, moving back and forth all the time. But as we said earlier, still relatively early in the going as the pace car drops down onto the apron. Now, field all alone. Horton, Danny Johnson in the front row. They'll bring him down around. That is turn number 3, you see, coming off that narrow back straightaway. They'll start to get on the throttle just about now as they exit turn number 4. Green flag out. We're racing again.
Watch the 27J car, the orange machine. That's Danny Johnson. Can he get that lead away from Jeff Hetzler in the 74 car? Johnson giving it everything he's got. He may be a little too high.
Well, the restart here is a little bit different, Steve. The slow cars, lap cars, are on the inside in single file. Fast cars, single file on the outside. So Hetzler was able to move out and pull about a 5 5 or 6 car-like lead down into turn number 3 over Danny Johnson.
And one driver out there, the blue number 10 car, that's Rich Urich. He's been so smooth and dependable. He's almost invisible, and he's running in the 3rd position, came from 5th.
Right, so he benefited a little bit by Doug Hoffman falling back with that tire problem. So, and speaking of Hoffman, he is sitting in the mob scene as they come down the front straightaway. He is well back there. There he goes, up high, that 125, that white number 125. That, of course, is Doug Hoffman, your pole sitter. And I don't think that car is working, Steve. He sure didn't want it out there against the fence.
No, I think that car is driving him instead of the other way around. The race for the 5th spot, the 115 car of Kenny Tremont, the 17 machine of Richard Tobias. That is the fight for the 5th position. Tremont is in it right now.
There's the blue car of Richard Tobias, one of a racing family out of Pennsylvania, and he is probably, like most of the guys right now, Steve, just sitting there. Tremont sitting in the 5th spot. They're going to wait for this first flurry of pit stops, and of course, if we get a caution, we're going to see a bunch of guys dash into the pits for tire changes and fuel. But tactics, I think, are going to probably stabilize for the time being until we get to that first round of stops.
Well, I'm sure there's some drivers out there right now that would love to pit at this point, maybe a little bit early, but they're afraid to do it under the green, and I don't blame them, because as sure as they'd come in, there'd be a yellow flag, and then get stuck.
So,
back in Syracuse in the Miller High Line 300, the action is up front. Number 74, the white car with the red numbers being challenged for the lead. Jeff Hetzler in the lead on the inside is Danny Johnson, 27. Jay Johnson has worked his way through this pack in the Miller High Line 300 from 18th to 2nd and challenging for number 1, Brock Yates.
What a drive, and now Johnson down low, down the front straightaway. He is going to take the lead, yes. The 27J, Danny Johnson, bobbles just a little bit as he backs it down into turn number 1. But look at this. Here comes the 6 car, Brett Hearn, one of the real contenders in this event, in for what is obviously an unscheduled stop.
He has a flat right rear tire, but it comes at a point in the race, Brock, where it's not disastrous for him. At least we're deep enough where it maybe could have been a planned stop for some team.
Yeah, but even then, though, Steve, I'm sure that the crew was waiting for a yellow when everybody could get in all at once, and this is not a good thing. And now Paul Page is down with Joe Knopf, Jeff Hetzler's crew chief, to find out his problem.
Well, he's been the dominant power in the early part, but now we hear he's got a steering problem.
Yeah, it looks like we lost the power steering, so we're going to have to pop the hood and take a look at it. So I don't know what else. We'll just have to hang in there and see what happens.
It's just something you hope for and hope you might be able to repair then.
Well, hopefully maybe the belt popped off and it's still there. Maybe we can slip it back on. We're running to get another belt right now. But if we don't do it, he's just going to have to be a muscle man and see if we can hang in there.
Okay, there's the report. Good luck to you.
Well, here's some good news for that man, Joe Knott, and anybody else that wants to pit. Bring them on in, because here is a caution flag that has been brought out by 42P Pat Ward, who had a flat down in turn number 4. It's going to get real busy on pit road, Brock.
Tough break for Brett Hearn. He gets underway just as everybody else comes in. Remember, his stop came under green. Here come the leaders. Danny Johnson, 27J, charging into his pit. Right behind him, Jeff Hetzler. And now, let's go down to Paul Page, who's in Danny Johnson's pit area.
And here with the yellow flag, both the 74 car of Holtzler and the leader, Danny Johnson, comes in for a stop. Holtzler way out of position, as his crew really had to go out about 15 feet away from the wall to be able to get to work on his car. It's a battle in the pits right now. Johnson, the leader, just behind this car of Holtzler, and you can see they're going to go to work on Holtzler's car, trying to find out what's wrong with that power steering. But with the fuel can still attached and the hood off, they send him back into the action, trying to beat the field around. So Holtzler goes back out.
And apparently, Jeff has gone back out without the necessary power steering repairs. If you've ever had your street car's engine die and tried to steer a car with power steering, you have some idea what he's up against.
All right, this is Bob McCready back in the pits for the second time today. They're going to make a change of the right rear tire, probably make some chassis adjustments. Oh, they're changing both rear tires. So McCready, one of the real favorites, is falling back even farther. That's the 61 car of C.D. Colville. Remember, he's had a good run so far today. This looks like a routine stop for him. No problems apparent on that automobile. So pit stops continue here, and comes the 74 car of Hetzler again. Paul is there.
And here is Jeff Holtzler back into the pits. He's pounding on the top of his dash. Very concerned about the machine. They continue to go to work on the rear, and he gestures trying to get the crew over as they take a look now just under the console to try and find out what the problem continues to be with the power steering.
And Hetzler is frustrated not being able to communicate with his crewmen. They're not using radios on most of these teams, and he's just going to take it back out on the racetrack. Now, the second stop for Bob McCready is a disastrous one. He is still in the pit area, and they are still apparently trying to get this car to suit the driver. They're doing some rear suspension work, trying to get the car loaded or weighted properly. In fact, to find out exactly what's going on, let's go to Brock Yates, who was with the crew chief on that team, Mike Hazlett.
What's the problem?
Bob says the car feels like something's broken in the back end, letting the back end shift forward and backwards. He thinks we're in trouble.
Didn't find anything, though.
With a quick look, we didn't find anything, but he says we're in trouble.
You're probably going to find it back in again, I would imagine.
Yes, we are, yes.
A little question of that. If there's something seriously broken in the rear end of that automobile, McCready is not about to endanger himself and anybody else out on that racetrack. Yep, indeed. We'd look for him back into the pits.
Very experienced driver, and if he says something's wrong, he can be sure there is. Ray Bateman now leading into the 0 car. Lou Blaney, both these guys did not stop, so there's a little bit of a distortion as far as the leaders are concerned. Here's Hoffman, Danny Johnson, Jimmy Horton. Johnson up in the 8th spot after a very quick pit stop, as did Doug Hoffman. So those are basically men that are contenders, even though they made a stop, but up front the guys didn't. So Hoffman and Danny Johnson still very much in contention here. In fact, in reality, they are the leaders because everybody in front of them has yet to make their first pit stop.
All right, they're coming out of turn 3 into 4, out of 4, and they get a green flag. The 0 car, Ray Bateman Jr. leads him down the front straightaway, and we have got trouble.
Oh, right away. As the field sweeps off turn number 4, a big jam up coming out onto the front straightaway. That is Tommy Corellis's number 57 up against the outside of the fence. The 38 car of Mike Perotti appeared to start it, but Jack Johnson's in it, C.D. Coble, Kenny Tremont, some of the front runners, or at least contenders, all jammed up against the outer fence as they came off turn number 4 on that restart, Steve.
And this is the kind of chain reaction crash that a lot of people, including yours truly, expected to see on the very first lap of this race, and instead all 49 cars ran it clean. Stay with us. We'll be back to further analyze this.
Here's one of the victims of that big crash down there in turn number 4 on the restart. Mike Perotti in the 38 automobile. You can see the substantially altered bodywork on the right side of the car. The hood disappeared in that as Mike very tentatively gets back underway. He's probably going to try to carry on, but that's a severely damaged race car. Although, Steve Evans, not quite as damaged as some of the other victims.
No, indeed. Let's slow down the video and have a look. Watch for the 4 car, Nat Quinn, in the background. Now there, you can see he got up and tagged the 38 white car of Mike Perotti, who spins and then gets into the wall, while the 4 car continues to become involved with more machines. The 61 car of C.D. Colville, 12A car of Jack Johnson, the 115 car of Kenny Tremont, 57 car of Tommy Corellis, the 20 car of Bruce Sire. Boy, it was a train wreck. Let's go to Paul Page, who's with the 115 car of Kenny Tremont. Paul?
Well, here, back behind the pit line, they're working on Kenny Tremont's car. He still sits in the car. Kenny, are you hoping to get back in?
Oh, yeah, definitely. We're going to try and do the best.
What happened to you on the crash there? It looks like they were lined up badly.
They were it happened far in front of me. You know, the cars got mixed up and we had no place to go.
All right, well, he's covered with dust and dirt. The side of his car is completely battered in. But the crew works on Kenny Tremont's machine with the hopes of getting him back into the fight.
Now let's go to Brock Yates with the Jack Johnson car, who had gotten up to 13.
Well, Steve, apparently Jack Johnson's crew thinks they can get him back into the race. They're working on the front end after that car took a stuffing up against the fence. Let me see if I can get a word with Jack. Jack, you reckon you can get this thing back in the race?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the damage is up there. We're chasing a point, so we're going to try to get back out there.
Jack, you got just pinched up against the fence, I would imagine, on that restart.
Yeah, I got pinched there. The cars were all sliding around. I tried to get through outside against the wall, and somebody just tapped me, and I clipped the wall by right front. I couldn't get through.
We were watching you. You seem to be moving up pretty good.
I was just trying to run steady. I wasn't running as hard as I could. It was raining. It was a little dangerous out there. I was just trying to hold my own.
Well, great job. I'm sorry this happened to you. We'll be watching. The best of luck.
Thank you.
Jack Johnson apparently going to try to have a go at it.
And that's good news for the many Johnson fans here at Syracuse. You know, that kind of a crash is not unusual in modified racing on a restart or the start of the race even. But I think the rain, as Jack said, contributed heavily to this one. So many cars involved. No one could steer through this mess.
Well, there you see the 115 of Tremont heading down toward the inside fence, while Jack Johnson's car goes south toward the outside fence. And that little cluster of automobiles, everybody pretty well beat up in it. The rest of the field kind of beating their way through. So fortunately, we've seen some even bigger ones in restarts like this, Steve. But right now, Ray Bateman continues to hold on to it. But notice Danny Johnson now starting to move a little bit in the 27J. He has already made his pit stop and is now apparently ready to move back into the lead.
Well, whatever may happen, the driver of the Zero car, Ray Bateman Jr., can always tell his friends and family that he led the richest dirt race of them all, the Miller High Life 300 in Syracuse. All right, Brock, they're picking up speed and headed for a restart.
There you see the pace car down on the apron off the racetrack as Bateman brings him down through turn number 3, heading out through turn 4 out of the main straight. Let's see if everybody can get through it this time.
Well, I tell you, the fans are on their feet with their fingers crossed. They don't need a crash. They need good, solid racing right now, and that's what they're going to get.
The 44 car of Frank Causey moves into the lead on that restart. Just drove right by Ray Bateman Jr. in the number 0. He is starting to fall back, but look at Causey in that yellow automobile is broken free from the field, showing some real strength there.
And you know, we're getting close to lap 100. The leader picks up a bonus of $10,000.
Look at Causey, but right behind him, that 27J car of Danny Johnson has broken free of the pack as well. So we're going to see a race for the big bucks here at the 100th lap.
You know, and that's interesting. That explains why Causey and Bateman coming to the pits right now didn't pit on that last yellow. They were thinking about that 10 grand, not winning the overall event.
Absolutely right. But right now, a tough break for Bateman. He is in to make a tire change on the left rear, probably the right rear as well. So the gamble did not pay off for Ray Bateman, unfortunately.
No, he was out of rubber. As soon as he stood on that thing and applied any kind of power to it, it was uncontrollable. But he took the gamble that Causey took. It backfired on Bateman, but Causey is out there. Maybe he's going to be $10,000 richer here in a minute if his tires will stand up.
Well, there goes Bateman back underway, but his hopes for that big 10 grand payoff have disappeared when his tires went away. Not this man, no. The 99th lap, Causey, the 44 car, Danny Johnson, the 27J, knows exactly what this deal is. Here it is. Causey and Johnson will now enter the 100th lap. One of those two cars will probably lead it, and the guy leading the 100th lap is the big winner, the payoff, $10,000. Here comes Causey under the wire, right behind him Johnson. 1 mile to go for $10,000. Lap car in front of Causey. A little technical question here. Johnson really good in this kind of traffic. Causey, Johnson right on his left rear wheel. Causey gets by him down into turn number 3, that long back straightaway. Danny Johnson, Causey in his sights. Both cars tucked down inside that inside rail as they come off turn number 4. Causey's got good power, Steve. He's going to lead it down here. A 10 grand payoff for the man from Windgap, Pennsylvania.
There was a moment there when Danny Johnson got inside him. I thought Causey had let it slip away. But no, he fought tenaciously to hang on. Paul is in his pitch with his crew chief, Gary Kleintop, for congratulations all around.
Well, the 100 laps and the $10,000 kind of came and went. You guys are still studying the race. It looks like you're out for a win overall.
Well, we got to still make one more stop for gas and tires. It's going to be cutting it close. We need a caution soon.
Got to feel good about the 10 grand, though.
Yeah, we needed that.
That'll help out.
Yeah, that'll help the tire bill.
Well, I know you want to get back and watch the car. Good luck with the whole thing.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Well, suddenly the hopes of this crew out of Pennsylvania just soar as the 44 automobile of Frank Kazi takes off the first payday in a long race that lies ahead here at the Miller.
Again, we're under caution here at the New York State Fairgrounds in Syracuse, New York, at the Miller Highlight 300 for modified cars. This time it was the 8 car of Mike Ritchie, who was dropping oil, was black flagged in. They want to take a good look at the racetrack. Lou Blaney in the 10 car has taken this opportunity to bring his machine into the pits. Brock is with a man who is out of the race, a man who led it.
I'm with Jeff Hetzler, and Jeff, it's got to be a very disappointing moment for you. You ran so well, seemed to have a really good position in as far as just staying with the leaders. What happened to the car?
Well, we lost the power steering while I was leading, and maintained the lead for a while. I dropped back to second when Danny Johnson passed me, but we lost the steering. It's internal. We pulled in the pit. We thought we could throw another belt on it if that's what it was, but it wasn't. It's something internal, so we just had to ride it out as long as we could until I got rubber-armed enough to drop out.
The race car these cars are heavy. They're 2,500-pound race cars, and they must be a real horse without power steering in them.
Yeah, I got a hard time right now even moving, so, you know, it's a lot of weight. It's a lot of race car to handle when you lose your power steering.
Okay, Jeff Hetzler finished after his power steering just went away on him, Steve, and he just ran out of arm power, as he said.
And the front end geometry is set up for power steering. It just won't work without it, as a very strong young man found out, Jeff Hetzler. All right, the field is under caution after a flurry of pit stops while we were away. Billy Pouch now the leader. Kazi is in second. C.D. Colville, the 61 car, in third, followed by Johnson and Wilson. That's the top 5 here at Syracuse. Now take a look at this. Alan Johnson started dead last, 49th of the 14J car. Well, he's up to 7th. And Dave Blaney in the number 1 car, the sprint car star, has come from 22nd to 9th in this modified contest.
All right, your leader, Billy Pouch, the New Jersey star, has had kind of middling luck in this race. One of the top drivers in dirt. But a man that has never really been able to get this kind of oft-sought victory here. This, of course, is the crown jewel in the dirt schedule, and if you can win this one, not only is it a giant payday, but it's a big prestige factor, too.
That's right. You're part of history. Billy Pouch's 76 car takes the green flag and leads him down. Behind him is the 44 car, Frank Kazi, the latest 10,000 error in motor racing.
He's got his money, but he's looking after that almost $100,000 away in the winner. So it could be a great day for Frank Kazi as he tucks right in behind Billy Pouch. I'll tell you what, that 44 car is really working right now, Steve.
Oh, absolutely. And at this point of the race, you get physical if you have to. If you got a NERPA guy to get through, well, desperate race drivers do desperate things.
Oh, look at this. Frank Kazi right on the Nerf bar of Billy Pouch, drafting him as they head down into turn number 1. Falls back just a skosh as Pouch sideways right into turn 1. You really have to pitch it into turn 1 and then kind of tuck it down on the inside rail. Here they come down that back straightaway. Very, very narrow. Now watch Pouch and Kazi both tuck right in against that inside rail. That's the pass line through turn number 3 as they sweep wide. And now, of course, that big front straightaway is about 3 blocks wide. Here, you can really move around on that one.
And there's so much rubber down there, and the track's gotten so hard, you can actually hear it. Hear the tires squeal as they come into the turns under braking.
We got some potholes appearing in turns 1 and 2 as well. That could be trouble near the end of the race. Pouch has now moved out to maybe 3 car lengths as they head down 1 more lap into turn number 3. And Kazi, though, still hanging on, tenacious. Frank Kazi, he is up now. Boy, he's adrenaline's flowing after that payday on the 100th lap.
And on the straightaways, he kind of gets down near the rail, hoping that maybe the leader will slide high. And look who's out of the race, another former leader. Doug Hoffman crawls out of the 125 car. Paul Page is there.
Doug Hoffman climbs out of the car. Boy, Doug, you've been fighting with that thing. You looked good at first, and then it just seemed to go bad for you.
Well, the car felt real good. You know, we got in the lap traffic early in the race, and rain was hurting me a little bit. We got past there, but things are going real good yet. It still felt real competitive. The transmission started popping out of gear, and I tried to hold it in. You just can't drive with one hand up here.
But once it does that, you just naturally got to retire. How was the track out there with the on-again, off-again rain?
Well, it's starting to get better now that the rain stopped. It was starting to get fast. I just changed right rear tires, and the car felt real good. now it started popping out of gear. It just wasn't our day.
Well, we're sorry to see you out so early. Doug Hoffman, out, done for the day.
Clearly disappointed. The man who started on the pole here, a great opportunity to win his first Miller High Life 300, but of course that non-cooperative gearbox that put him into the pits for the afternoon. And still the race goes on. Billy Pouch in that white 76 pokes his nose into some slower traffic with Frank Cozzi right on his dirt bar. Well, let's see how Pouch handles. There's 3 or 4 slower cars up ahead of him. And right behind him, though, is Frank Cozzi. Boy, I'll tell you what, Cozzi just hasn't given an inch ever since this restart.
No, he hasn't, but he may have some fresh company to play with here. 27J, Danny Johnson, right there, takes 3rd place away from C.D. Colville in the 61 car. Johnson on the prowl. Whoa!
Pouch gets wide into turn number 1. Pouch in the 76 car way up on the high side here, and everybody blows past him. There is Cozzi. He gets by him. Danny Johnson in the 27J gets by him, or almost by him. Pouch recovers a little bit. Yep, Johnson by him as well. So a lead change here right away with a bobble by Billy Pouch in turn number 1.
And that blue car just ahead of Danny Johnson. Well, you'll remember Rich Erwick in the 10 car that was having such great success. He is now a lap down. That's how quick the fortunes can change on the Moody Mile.
And very much in the mind of Frank Cozzi is upset. He started 15th. Right behind him, the man who started in 3rd, Danny Johnson. His sights are on the lead. We'll be right back at Syracuse on the Moody Mile. Stay with us.
New York. I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page and Brodcast, and we are thoroughly enjoying the Miller High Life 300 for dirt modified cars. I don't know how anybody could like this kind of competition. Look at the yellow and blue car moving around a bit. That's the leader, 44, Frank Cozzi. 27J, Danny Johnson, dogging him.
He is. Danny Johnson, I think, a little bit surprised at the power that Frank is showing here. He started it way back in 15. Oh, Billy Pouch, the 76 car. He was a leader for a while. Remember, then he bobbled in turn number 1, got way up high, letting Cozzi by. Now he is in the pits.
Well, that bobble on the part of Pouch might have been tires or suspension or something that we couldn't see, and I'm sure that's the reason that he is in the pits.
Right. As the car now gets underway, taking the gas can, that 11-gallon NASCAR-style gas can hanging out of that quick fill on the left rear of the car. Now one of the dirt crewmen yanks it loose, and Billy Pouch gets underway, but loses some more precious seconds. Remember, too, Steve, that he stopped under green, and that's always a disaster.
And look how hot the tires are on Bob McCready's car. They're still struggling with a broken rear end mount. It's allowing that entire differential, axle, wheels, and tires to move around, which creates more friction and tires you can fry eggs on.
So Bob McCready clearly out of contention here as we watch the leader, Frank Cozzi, the yellow 44, dogged by Danny Johnson in the 27J, moving around slower traffic. They're in the midst of it now. Lap traffic, a mob of it up ahead of Frank Cozzi, now up on the outside, way on the outer rail as they get down into turn number 3. So he's going to work his way through. Let's see if Johnson is a master in short track competition, really good in this kind of cut and shoot competition. Johnson did not make up any clear advantage on Cozzi.
Well, Danny Johnson, extremely popular with the fans for his aggressive but clean driving style. Paul's in his pits with his crew chief, Billy Colton.
Well, we've got one whale of a fight going here. Do you think Danny can catch him?
I think so. We can't let it all hang out right this second. We got to try to conserve our fuel a little bit. We're really playing it tight on the fuel mileage here.
Has he been talking to you at all?
Yes. Car feels real good. We're just trying to nurse it as far as we can. Trying to draft them when we can draft them on the straightaways and go from there.
Well, we're into the closing laps, and it looks like one tight race.
And one smart team using two-way communications to try to anticipate their problems and their fuel economy. Uh-oh, Billy Pouch, a former leader of the 76 car, is out of this event. It's almost a change to lead here at Syracuse. Let's go to Brock with another man out of the race.
Bob McCready getting out of the race car and obviously disappointed. Bob, apparently rear end problem just put it all away for you, huh?
I think we broke a brake line or wore the pads out.
Is that what it was? You came in earlier, real early in the race, and told the crew that something was weird in the rear end. Do you think this had anything to do with it?
Possibly, I don't know. We had a vibration after about 20 or 30 laps. I don't know if the spur gears or the rear end gears, something that it vibrated. It was still hanging in there, but didn't feel real good out there.
A great show as usual. Sorry you're out.
Thank you.
And some great racing continues. The 61 car with the day glow numbers on it, that's C.D. Colville. He's in third. Here comes 14J Alan Johnson. Remember, he started 49th, dead last. Well, he's closing in, and right now may even take third position. He has taken the third position. The lap car they're dealing with there is 42P. That's Pat Ward. He's trying to stay out of the way, but it's tough to do.
Well, we got a real mopsy now with the two Johnson brothers now contending for second spot and chasing Frank Cozzi, who still holds on to the lead. The big surprise so far in this race has been Frank Cozzi with that yellow number 44 automobile holding off these two very strong drivers from the dirt circuit from upstate New York. Alan, the older of the two brothers, won this race in 1983, had some terrific seasons in the earlier part of the decade, and then the last couple of years, though, younger brother Danny has really had the better of it. He's had some fine seasons with that number 27 automobile, and his crew now highly optimistic that they can run down the 44 of Frank Cozzi in the closing stages of this race. Now, as I mentioned, there is almost $100,000, very close to it, at stake here. In addition to that, a whole bunch of manufacturers' prizes. Steve is in the garage area with one of the special ones.
An up-and-coming team looking to improve their race car transportation, make it a real good bargain when the day is over, because there's going to be one on the market, because the winner of today's Miller High Life 300, in addition to a $7,000 diamond ring, over $40,000 in cash, gets this, a $60,000 Chevrolet Diesel 70 Series truck, all warmed up and ready to go. And for the race car itself, a 40-foot tandem trailer. Now you see why we call this the richest payday in dirt track racing.
Oh, no question. The folks loving it. They're watching these guys go at it, hammer and tongs all the way around this big mile racetrack. And there are your two leaders. Frank Cozzi still being stalked by Danny Johnson in the 27J. Is he hanging back? Is he waiting for a few final laps to make his move? Or is Frank Cozzi simply able to hold him off? And what about brother Alan Johnson back there in third, all the way up from 49th place?
You know, if Danny this morning before the race started was feeling bad for his older sibling starting way in the back, he isn't feeling bad for him now. He wishes it'd go away.
Yeah, right in his rear view mirror is Alan Johnson in the 14J, the 49th and last, a scratch starter in this field, and he is moving. The car is hooked up. Johnson, a real veteran, knows his way around this racetrack, and he is definitely going to be a factor in the closing laps.
This is the kind of charge from last to third that only a real veteran could do here at Syracuse. That's just the fact of the matter. You've really got to know this mile.
Right. That's exactly what Jack Johnson had hoped to do, and of course he got tangled up on that restart, which put him out. And Johnson, of course, made his way through there, and it may have been that he was far enough back so that he was able to avoid that trouble when Jack got into trouble. But right now, it's Danny Johnson challenging for the lead here
at Syracuse between the leader, Frank Cozzi, in the 44 car, and Danny Johnson in 27J. That is Billy Colton Johnson's crewman, and he looks worried. Fuel is their big concern right now. For Brodcast, I noticed the cars are starting to get twitchy.
Well, they are. The racetrack is starting to break up, as it often does. We're getting some big potholes in the entrance of the corners here as we watch Cozzi, Johnson, Blaney, and Colville in the top five. They are the only ones on the lead lap. These next five guys are one lap down and essentially out of contention unless we have some real surprises in the closing stages. So there is Cozzi. Right behind him, the orange 27J, Danny Johnson, and right behind him, brother Alan. Just hanging back there, kind of like lurking about 3 car lengths back.
We're working lap 171 out of 188, or 300 kilometers, and there's no strategy now, Brodcast. Just get this job done. Get around the lap traffic like you just saw Danny Johnson did as quickly as possible. If they hold you up, the leader, Cozzi, is going to get away from him.
Right. And Cozzi is showing all kinds of strength here on these straightaways, and I think Danny Johnson, obviously, we don't know whether his tires are going away from him a little bit, whether he's concerned about fuel. Who's to know? You know, these race cars have been hammered for almost 180 miles around a very rough old racetrack, and you can never tell what's going away on them. Shock absorbers, suspension settings, the race cars maybe oversteering, understeering, all kinds of weird stuff that these drivers are fighting right now. And it's now strictly a mano-a-mano battle between basically Danny Johnson and Frank Cozzi, with Alan Johnson just sitting back there hoping, I think something's going to happen, because he doesn't seem to be able to move in on it.
Well, here's Danny Johnson trying to move in the red 27 car, but Cozzi, as you said, just hangs on. And you know, I love all the variables. They're worried about fuel and tires. The racetrack is running. Who says it was supposed to be easy? This is automobile racing.
That's right. If it wasn't, as Joel Jack Hewitt once said, everybody up in the grandstands would be down here doing it with us.
That's right. And there is Johnson's crew still looking on. Nobody talking, nobody joking, nobody doing anything but just hoping there's enough fuel in his gas tank to finish this race.
Right. Down the back straightaway. Cozzi resisting the pressure of a very aggressive and very talented young man right behind him, and not wavering a bit. Notice Cozzi just tucks in right in close on that inside rail. Johnson seems to run a little bit wider, but coming off that fourth corner, he seems to be able to pull Danny Johnson down the front straight by about 3 or 4 car lengths.
All right, there are 15 laps to go in the richest dirt track race of them all, the Miller High Life 300. Cozzi out in front, Danny Johnson in that second spot. And you're right, Brock, in the turns, he can get up and almost give him a tap, but right there in the straightaways, he loses a car length or 2. And in third spot, Alan Johnson. Is what they say, the catbird seat? Is that what he's in?
I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you, he's got his eyes on his brother, and Alan Johnson has begun to move in a little bit. The fans sensing a charge to the finish here. Stand up as each time these Greason goes by that wide front straightaway. Look at Alan Johnson now. Alan Johnson has moved into about 2 car lengths behind his brother. So the pressure begins to mount. This young man, Sean Parker, one of Danny Johnson's crewmen, a sophomore in high school, travels with Johnson during the summer months. Boy, is he feeling the pressure as he just watches his teammate try to move in on Frank Cozzi, who has commanded this race for lap after lap, Steve.
Well, you know, and this kind of payday can make a real difference in a team's future, the kind of equipment they can afford. Maybe move into another series. These are the races you dream about winning, not just for prestige, but for a whole lot of money. Alan Johnson, the 14J car in third, had a piece of bodywork fly up there, Brock.
Yeah, he did. In fact, you can see it flap as he comes down into turn number 3, and he gets wide in that corner. Ooh, lifts an inside left front wheel. That car is really getting cranky for Alan Johnson. Now, he, in fact, you can see the aerodynamics that have been affected on that right side of that automobile. So Johnson apparently encountering really bad luck here now.
All right, Johnson in third. All eyes, though, on the leaders. The 27 car of Danny Johnson in second. Still applying all the pressure he can on Cozzi. Cozzi in the 24 car. First name Frank. Look at this. Johnson again in the turns. Right up on his back, but can't quite get around him. Boy, these cars are getting evil.
They are. Well, you've got almost 6 figures awaiting you in victory lane here. I'll tell you what, there are 3 very serious race drivers at work right now. One little bobble, one just slight miscue, and you've got trouble. Look at Johnson, it's up alongside Cozzi. They spin and they crash in turn number 2.
This is unbelievable. First and second place have collided. The crew of Danny Johnson can't believe what they're hearing on the radio. There is Cozzi, the 44 car. Danny Johnson, the 27 car. And what does this mean? It means the man who started dead last, the brother of Danny Johnson, is leading the Miller High Life 300. The crews are just done.
Unbelievable. Johnson tried to make his move. There's his crew chief, Billy Colton, understands the impact of what happened here. There is Cozzi. Apparently tried to get it started, back underway. Now Johnson tries to move, but they are out for sure. Here is what happened. Notice Johnson down low, coming off turn number 2, tucks his right front wheel inside the left rear of Frank Cozzi, and they both come loose. Cozzi in the yellow 44 tries to save it. Johnson just heads directly for the outside fence and crashes. Cozzi takes a big 360-degree spin and stalls.
And the field, of course, is under caution. If there's a parallel to other forms of motorsports, this would be a Dale Earnhardt, Rusty Wallace incident in NASCAR racing, where one of the two tried to pass down low and the other one just didn't open the lineup any wider than it was. I don't think either driver could be considered at fault here. They may not agree with that analysis. In fact, let's go to Paul Page, who is in the Johnson pits, with crew chief Billy Colton.
And a great fight going, tangled out at 2. What are you hearing?
All I know is we're all done. I have no idea beyond that.
What a terrible disappointment, huh?
Yeah, it is. We thought we had a real good shot at it, you know?
All right. One of the Johnson family out. Another still in the fight.
All right, Billy Colton clearly disappointed, even shocked at this development in these late stages. There is your current leader. Alan Johnson started last, now leading the Miller High Life 300 here at Syracuse with only a few laps remaining.
Looking at the jubilant crew of Alan Johnson, the leader in the 14J car, who has come from dead last. Not quite so happy, the crew chief for Frank Kazi. Brock's with him.
I'm with Gary Kleintop on Gary Cozy's car, and you got to feel just horrible about this whole deal. He just did a super job all day, and apparently they got together coming off turn 2 and got both into the fence.
Well, that's what they say. I couldn't see what happened. You know, Danny's known to do that stuff, but those are the breaks of racing, and that's the way it goes. Kanai's car was really working great today, and it's just part of racing.
I know. You're very philosophical about it. You got to be a real disappointed. He did a super job all day long.
Yeah, well, we just brought our old car here. Just figured we'd do the best we could. And, you know, gave it our best shot.
Well, you got a lot to be proud of. You did take home that 10 grand, is that correct?
Yeah, that makes it a little bit, but that's nothing compared to the race.
I understand. Well, we'll see you next year. I know you'll be back.
We'll try.
Just one lap of racing left when the green flag comes out. And on the head of the pack will be 14J Alan Johnson. We'll say it again. He came from dead last. How about Dave Blaney and Lou Blaney, father and son, in the top 5? Blaney and C.D. Colville, maybe even Randy Glinsky, still have a chance at winning this. But in one lap, it's Dave Blaney who has the best chance. And right now, Paul is with his crew chief.
Billy, it's going to be a one-lap run. What do you think?
Well, I just told him to get the tires hot, and we're going to have to swirl them back and forth and get the tires hot, and it's going to be a shootout. That's what we're going to do. We're going for it.
If anybody can do it, Dave can.
Yes, he can. He's done a tremendous job. He's a dynamite kid.
All right, good luck to you. Dave Blaney from 22nd now in second, and maybe looking at a win.
And Billy Taylor is car owner, cheering him on as we've got the cars almost at a dead stop on the back straightaway. There's the pace car now moving out to begin to up the speed here. There's Alan Johnson in the 14J. He's got to be just so happy. Ken scratching his head. Had some real breaks, but drove brilliant, needless to say. Dave Blaney sitting back there in second. We've seen him run so well in the World of Outlaws over the years. There is the green flag on its way out. Dave Blaney trying to move in on Alan Johnson. Johnson gets a great start. A 10, 12 car length lead down into turn number 1, Steve.
That is called putting them away on the start, Brock. Unless the wheels fall off of that 14J car, nobody is going to stop that man-possessed Alan Johnson. For generations, they'll remember that he came from the back to win on the Moody Mile in Syracuse. Johnson into turn number 3. Out of turn number 4. Half the distance of the front straightaway separates him from victory. The checkered flag is out. Alan Johnson has done the impossible. He has come from last position to win the Miller High Life 300. We'll talk to Alan in a moment. The winning driver, the promoter's option, Alan Johnson, better get ready for a crush of fans when they're allowed to cross that racetrack to the winner's circle where he is now. Dave Blaney finished second, Colville third, Glinsky fourth. In fact, the top 7 were all still on the lead lap. Right now, let's go to Brock Yates with the winner.
All right, Alan Johnson out of the car. Fans are loving it. What a show. All right. One happy young man here, I'll tell you what. As soon as he gets his helmet off here. All right, here we go. Yeah. What a show. Alan, give me the odds. Give me the odds this morning when you woke up as to where if you'd be here right now. Be honest with me.
I didn't even think I was going to be in the race.
I know you weren't even. And when did you think you had a shot at it? I mean, halfway, were you moving up a little bit so you felt good about it?
Well, the car felt good ever since we got here. We always had bad qualifying. You know, we always had to time early, and we had trouble with it popping out of gear.
You had to feel a little bit of remorse for the old brother there when he hit the fence. What happened? What went through your mind then?
Well, he was driving a little hard. You know, he was real hungry for the win. I was underneath him there going into one, and he put me right down in a guardrail, and I was just trying to keep my nose clean.
Great show. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And now let's go to Paul with a second-place finisher.
Well, Brock, here's Dave Blaney. Started 22nd, moved up to second place. For a bit there, it looked like he had a real shot at the lead in this thing, completely covered in Syracuse dirt. Boy, what a great fight at the end.
Well, I just can't thank Billy Taylor and his crew enough. You know, they got me a perfect race car today. I could drive anywhere I wanted to go, and you know, our pit strategy was real good. You know, they kept just, well, we didn't have to pass many. We passed them, you know, when they pulled in the pits, but yeah, I don't know. I just tried as hard as we could. We kind of got low on tire there at the end, and I just couldn't, just hanging on for second.
The last couple of laps, they were also saying that Johnson's left front was going flat. Could you tell it? Could you see a change?
Yeah, it was flat, but it wasn't hurting him real bad. Just getting in the corner a little bit, he was a little slow, but you know, he was still pretty good there.
All right, thank you, Paul. Let's go to Brock with the young man, Danny Johnson, who was within one lap of winning this race.
I'll tell you what, it was a great drive. I know you're disappointed, but you did what you had to do, and you just got pinched in the corner, I would imagine. That just put you up in the fence.
Yeah. He getting towards the end of the race there, and he drifted up a little bit. I tried to get underneath him. He come back down. We touched, and that's all it took.
Well, it's automobile racing. I know you're disappointed, but the race car seemed to be well hooked up, and I would imagine you were just sitting back there trying to get by him. You reckon we figured you could get by him when you had to.
Yeah, we were trying, but just an unfortunate incident.
Yeah. Well, we're sorry you're out. It was a great show anyway.
Okay, thanks.
All right, let's go to Paul for the other side of that story.
Frank, you got to be nursing what is a terrible disappointment. Fighting for the front there. What happened?
Well, Danny must have just got a little anxious there, and you know, it just bumped me a little bit. Doesn't take much over there to get turned around, and once it starts to go, he can't hardly ever bring the car back there. That's the way it goes, I guess.
You wait all season to run an event like this. It's a very important one. What's the duty inside?
Well, I wait all my life because I've been coming here since so many years, and I got close, and I just kept thinking every lap, this is it, you know. I just kept straight and kept thinking, man, this is going to be the one, you know. And just like that, it just take it away. So, well, not so bad, you know. The car didn't get crashed bad, and there's always next week, but you know, I give up a couple next weeks for this week.
Well, close this time, but it's a face that you're going to see in winner's circle here sooner or later at Syracuse.
I completely agree, Paul. Thanks for joining Paul Page, Brock Yates, and myself, Steve Evans, here in Syracuse.